Hi guys, just a very quick video on the basics of model kit building. People ask, what do you need to build a model? And I can assure you, you don't need a lot. Now, as you develop into the hobby, you will find yourself buying specific tools that do the job a little bit easier. But you cannot go wrong in just starting off with the pure basics of model kit building. Now, if you've always fancied a go but didn't want to spend a lot of money on building a model kit, I suggest, or I urge you to try out Airfix's starter kit. Now, there are other brands who do their own starter kit, but I found the Airfix one just an absolute dream, okay? Because it really takes you back into the actual essence of model kit building. You don't need the fancy airbrushes. You don't need all the fancy glues, the filler. If you want to have a go at building a model, buy one of these kits, okay? There's nothing really special about them, apart from the fact it brings you back into what model kit building, to me, is all about. Trying to make the best of what you have in your hand, or you can grab hold of, okay? These kits all come with the paints, the glue, and a brush. Okay, that's all that's in the kit. You will need to just grab a couple of items to make certain things a little bit more easier, but there's nothing more than you need than stuff that you can probably find in your house, in particular your mum or your wife's handbag. If you haven't got a mum or a wife, your nan, okay? You know, it's quite simple. There's not a lot you need to build a kit. And so, I personally, as I was a youngster, and when I started building models, and I was doing a lot of railway stuff, and I've come back into it at the age of 40, and I started doing these model kits, and it was all because I bought a starter kit that I've really got back into doing modelling again. And I remember how fantastic it was. And I can assure you, a 25-year break, it is a lot easier now than it was. The kits now are actually quite good. They fit well, and you don't need to do a lot of cleanup. Okay, so when you pick up one of these kits, you basically go inside and you get your models. Okay, there's your models. All right, so your model. These are called sprues, and also in there you'll get your instructions, okay, telling you how to build the kit, right? You get your decals or your decals, depending on if you're American or English, and these are basically water transfers. You cut around where you need, dip them in water, and then you move them carefully into position where you want them on your model. Okay, they're quite good. All right. Oh yeah, sorry, I also forgot to mention, you get your paints and a little tub of glue, and you also get a paintbrush. Now, this is a paint brush. This is not a glue brush. This is for painting with, okay? Just so that you know. Just firstly, okay, there's a couple of extra things I would suggest you get hold of, but you don't need them to do this kit, but it does make things a little bit easier, okay? Firstly, a pair of scissors, okay? A pair of tweezers for your eyebrows, a nail file, and just to help with putting the bits together and keeping them together without using your fingers, is a little bit of masking tape. But if you don't have masking tape, elastic bands do just a good job, okay? Now, when I say scissors, people say, well, why do you need scissors for? Well, you do because of your transfers, okay? It's not really for the sprues or the parts in the sprue, because you can actually remove the parts carefully from the sprue without breaking it. So, as an example, this part here, if you just move it up and down, and just give it a little bit of pressure, and it'll come apart just by that sort of action. There you go. It's always come back there, but there you go. And there is the part off. Now, get your little nail file, and you can go around where it was connected and just give them a you don't need to, you can use a bit of sandpaper, just give them a bit of a clean up so that that edge is nice and now flush. As you can see, there's a little bit of a mark there. Just give it a rub, just rub it down until it's flat. There you go. And you see then it's all nice. You can, of course, use scissors on sprues, and you can easily just go in there with your scissors and just cut gently away and cut like so. And then what you can also do is if it's, let me just move these out of the way, just remove the part. If you find that there's still a little bit left, you can use your scissors just to cut a little bit more off, carefully not damaging the part. Then just finish off with a bit of sandpaper to get rid of the edge. Okay. There you go. All right. Pretty simple. Nice and clean. All right. So that's where the scissors come in for your decals and also for the sprues. Okay. So I'll just put that to one side. There's the brush there that comes with the kit. Now, yeah, the masking tape is good for if you wanted to put, if this was all together and you needed to put you see it fits nicely together like so. Once you've put your glue in, okay, it needs a little bit of work doing that, but I'm just showing you for an example. You can either use elastic bands just to keep the model together like so, and that keeps it all trim, all true. Or you can use a bit of masking tape, and so when you've put your glue in, once it's together, you can use the masking tape to keep it all together like so. All right, that's basically what you do as you build up the fuselage and the wings and the, you know, that's what you do. Okay, now going on to the cement, if we just undo this, there you go, and it goes. So I'm not going to glue this together because I want to do this kit again. I've done it about 2 or 3 times. It's a lovely kit to build this. With the poly cement that you get, I do not recommend you undoing it and then just doing that and using that. What I suggest is you can either use the box, rip a piece off the box like so, okay, and then you and then we'll rip another, and let's just rip this tag off here, rip that off, rip that in half. Now that's your palette, okay, that's where you, and what you do is you put your glue on there like so. So you've got a little lump of glue, put the lid back on, and then you can either do 2 things. Do not use the bristles on a brush. You use the back of the brush like so, and then you gently dab it in the places you want the glue to go. Okay, so that's what or if you don't want to use the brush, which is totally fine, you can get a piece of the box and then just fashion it like so into a point like that. Then we'll give it a roll over like so, squeeze it flat, and then you can also use that point just by putting it in the glue and then just gently dabbing it and just rubbing it around the edge of where you want to glue. There's 2 ways of doing it. That was how I first done it. I never thought of using the back of a brush until a friend showed me that, you know, you can use the back of a brush to do it. Let me just wipe this mess up. Also, if you get a damp rag, you can wash the, just when it's still wet, you can just wash the glue away. Okay, so it's not going to get everywhere. I just quickly want to just touch on painting. You get the 4 pots of paint with the kit, and when you read the instructions, it will tell you or suggest to you where's a good time to actually paint. So what I suggest you do is pick up the paint pot and the back of the brush, or you can use a cocktail stick and give it a really good stir. Really give it a good stir. Then once you've done that, get your damp cloth, wipe the end of the brush off, then you can start painting. And you paint the areas where the instructions tell you it's a good time to paint. So you would paint inside the cockpit, because once it's been attached together with the poly cement, it will not, you won't be able to paint it really, but it was hard work to paint. And that will include, once you've finished putting the cockpit together, which is the dash, the frame and the seat and the figure as well, if you want to, you'll paint that as well at the same time as in there. Then you glue them bits together. Okay, so always a good tip is to actually stir it. Now, I always keep these, and these come from takeaways where I've got coffee, and this is just a clear one, but you can get the pure white ones as well, just the coffee from McDonald's, long as they haven't got a lip in them, a hole in the lip, sorry. And I always suggest that this paint doesn't go on very well at first. You do it normally, you get the paint and you just spread it on, and it'll be very streaky, but that will become like a primer, and paint needs a primer to really have a good grab to plastic. So you use that first thick, go on, then I would suggest you mix that 8 parts paint to 2 parts water in here, so you get a little dab, mix it with the water, and then go over it again. And you may have to do 2 or 3 layers, maybe even 4 layers, until you get a really good finish. But once you do that, you'll understand that, that's the whole part of model making, is you'll learn about the paint and how it reacts and how it levels itself. But always add a bit of water. Water and acrylic do really good together. If you think, even make it 50-50 if you want, just to make it, if you feel it needs it, and just keep painting and painting until you get a really good finish. Then you can glue it. Then once you say, for instance, you've painted all this, I suggest you get your tweezers and just scrape away the paint where it will need to stick, because paint and the poly cement doesn't really react well. So I suggest once you painted it all, just scrape off the bits, like on the edges here, just scrape off the bits so that you can get a good contact with the glue, because all the glue does is heats up the plastic and melts it together. And that's what this is. It's not really a proper glue, it's more of it's like a bond, it's like an agent that causes the plastic to melt together and seal and make a good contact. Okay, just going to quickly jump onto this Spitfire. This was the very first Spitfire I actually made. This was the kit that I used. I used all the paints that would come. Yes, you can see there's that creamy green there, and I've got the black this side, and that's all for on the top of the plane. But yeah, I used these paints to do this kit, and I used masking tape to get the edge crisp. If I just come up close, I'll put masking tape along there. This is my first attempt, and I'm quite proud of it. I put masking tape around the edge here so I didn't get it all over the place. And then when I painted this, it was a case of putting on the brown and going over it, and I started going up and down through here all the way there. Then I left it, mixed again. I did 70-30, I think. Then I was going widthways, and then I did 80-20, or no, sorry, 90% paint, 10% water, and then just finish off doing diagonals. And then once that was all done with the brown, I then went onto the green and then did all the detail, and that was about 2 coats actually. It wasn't so bad because you already had the other paint underneath to give it a really good finish, if you know what I mean. So once it was all done, I then put the transfers on, or the decals, and what I did, I got my scissors, and I just cut around very carefully, not to cut into the decal. like so. So I'm going to be careful not to cut into it. There you go. And then what I then did was I got my pot. I cleaned this out of paint because it's really simple. It's only water, cleans it. And I put that in the water. And then when I was ready to, I got a paintbrush and I was able to move the decal on the paper. Then I picked up, using my tweezers, which is why you need tweezers. I picked it up like so. And then what I then did, I held it on the end, put this on there, and I just put my finger gently on top and pulled out, and the transfer stayed. And then I used the brush to move it into position. I got a piece of tissue paper and I just gently blotted out. Okay, now I was very fortunate that I had a friend who was also a model maker, and he lent me this stuff called Decofix. And you'll see that some models, these kind of leave like a grey finish. Over time they like come away from the paint. And he told me to actually, once I've done that, is to put a layer of Decofix on. You can also use Decofix straight on the decal in the pot, pour some in the pot, put that into the pot, let it soak, and then just put some of this actually on the, I forgot to say that you need to actually wet this as well before you put the transfer on or the decal on. Or I put some of this on and pulled it away, and it worked a treat. And I got the, and I'm so proud of this, that I got this completely spot on as well. And personally, I think I got that really well spot on. And it was all done by just looking and making sure, because you do have time to move it around with your little finger. Make sure your finger's wet. Don't do it dry because you'll end up pulling the transfer off. Just make sure your finger's wet and just gently, they're just blotting it. And it did come up really, really well. Okay, I was really, really pleased with that finish. So that was the very first Spitfire that I did. But anyway, I carry on. But yeah, that is the pure essence of model building for a very, very beginner, a starter. If it's your very first kit and you don't know whether you want to carry on doing it, I think everything here that I've suggested you use is all that you need. Okay, you've got your paints, your brush, remember your elastic bands for just going round your wings, etc. And I think you will do a really good, marvellous job producing a model. And I promise you, once you've done one model, you'll want to do more. Okay, just as an aside, you might find them like this. You can do tanks. This one's a bit battered now because I've had this for ages. I picked this up for like £3 from a car boot. But there's nothing stopping you from doing a model. On the back, just where all the decals go, that's the actual size of the model when you've built it. It's really, really, really good fun. So I hope this video helps. If you did like it, please like, subscribe, and if you can, share. Cheers all.